Hi, my name's Anna and I'm mother of twin girls, Evie and Isabel, and today we'll be discussing esotropia and my daughter Evie, which my daughter Evie has.
Perfect, and I'm Dr. Elizabeth Connor and I'm a paediatric ophthalmologist. I'm a general ophthalmologist, actually. I see people of all ages, but obviously today we're talking about Evie, so with my hat on as a paediatric ophthalmologist, I'm going to answer a lot of questions which many parents have, so hopefully this will make you more comfortable waiting while you see a specialist for your own children.
Mm-hmm.
So, Anna, do you want to start by telling me what you first noticed? And I actually brought a photograph of Evie for you. So if you could just tell us what you noticed first in Evie's eyes, what made you worried, what made you sort of ring around and say, what do I do?
Yep. So initially, so Evie was about 2.5 at the time, and initially I just was, when I looked at her, I sort of thought, oh, your left eye's facing inwards. Am I just imagining that, or was there a problem here? So then, but within about a week, I thought, oh no, there's something wrong here, because it was facing inwards about 70 to 80% of the time. And that's when.
Yeah. And one of the other interesting things you told me was about Evie's behaviour.
Yes, yeah. So she was quite a easygoing child, and then all of a sudden she just got extremely frustrated. And I was watching her one day trying to pick a flower, and she couldn't do it. So I thought, oh,
something's really going on here.
Right.
And during that time, was there anything you were particularly worried about?
Yes, yeah. So I was really concerned because I thought, why is this happening, and why has it come on so rapidly, and what could the outcome be for her? Is it treatable?
Yeah. And I think those concerns are very common, and unfortunately with the weights in the system, often people have to wait and think those questions for longer than we'd like before they get answers. So fortunately for Evie, she had this condition called accommodative esotropia, which I'm going to explain some slightly complicated terms, because I think the first time anyone hears them, they're more confusing than we'd like. So accommodation is the process where the eye has to bring its focus point in up close. So normally at your natural resting state, you've got good vision in the distance, but actually if you kind of look down with your peripheral vision, you can't read. So when you actively read, you have to focus your eyes to do that. And in a child with hypermetropia, which is where the eyeball is, the focusing power doesn't match up with the length of the eyeball. So instead of the focusing point being right on the retina, the focusing point is behind the retina. And so we need to put in some extra focusing power so that you can see clearly. And the brain prioritizes trying to see clearly. And so as it does that, the lens in the eye becomes more round and makes the eye stronger for focusing. But that's naturally linked to a mechanism in your brain that makes you go a little bit cross-eyed.
Right.
And usually that's because the rest of us, when we're looking in the distance, when we look in up close, that focus point is closer and we have to turn our eyes in to see clearly and get depth perception. But because those mechanisms are linked, when a child has hypermetropia, or they're, what was historically called farsighted, although we don't really use that term now, but they need to put in that extra focusing power just to see clearly in the distance. So they're putting in that extra focusing power, and then they're going cross-eyed in the distance, and when they look at something up close, there's even more focusing power, and they're going even more cross-eyed for up close. And the problem with that is when you're cross-eyed, you get double vision. It makes you really grumpy. It means you can't pick flowers. You sort of lose coordination and balance.
Yeah.
So from my point of view, it was reassuring that Evie had normal straight eyes for so long, and then suddenly became cross-eyed and was grumpy because she clearly had double vision. And usually that means that the children have good vision in both eyes if they're now getting two images with those images crossed. So hypermetropia is the need to exert extra focusing power to see clearly. And then esotropia is when the eyes turn inwards, and esotropia means inwards, exotropia meaning outwards. So some kids present with eyes that turn outwards, although in this situation of needing accommodation, they always cross inwards.
Right.
And often it starts around the age of 2.5 because their visual systems are developing, they're getting more interested, they're getting finer focus, they want to see clearly, and their brains are trying really hard, and suddenly they start turning inwards.
Yep.
And over a period of weeks to a couple of months, their eyes always turning inwards. So those are kind of the complex terms that you probably heard for the first time in clinic, and we're like, oh my gosh, what's going on there?
That's right.